Hey guys, it's Godbars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 228th episode of my series where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it has, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. So I've mentioned this once or twice before on the channel, but one of, if not my favorite album by Busta Rhymes is ELE or Extinction Level Event 1. And I was initially going to discuss that one, but if you remember, I ended up getting kind of screwed over when it came to that purchase, as it had advertised the record with the iconic album cover, but as you can see, that isn't what I received, and it wouldn't really make for a gripping thumbnail. I would love Busta's debut, The Coming, on vinyl as well, but while I unfortunately haven't come across that gem yet, or his underrated yet pretty dope 2000 LP, Anarchy. But I do have what many would consider his magnum opus, his sophomore album, 1997's When Disaster Strikes. In the last week, I've been going back and listening to a lot of the early projects in Busta Rhymes' extensive discography, and upon reflection, I may have to name his classic second LP here as my current favorite. Though, to be completely transparent, there's definitely a bit of recency bias as I've been playing this thing so much. Busta is an artist who's been in a similar position to someone like Ludacris, where obviously there's a vast difference in style and sound, but there's also similarities, like both legends being more commonly known for their killer singles, expressive voices, and consistent features, plus they both put distinct traces of comedy throughout their respective work. I heard that comparison made on the Questions Hip Hop podcast, specifically their Making Illmatic series, and they made a really interesting point about how these guys' comedic sensibilities may be why some people don't mention them in conversations nearly as much as they should, especially Busta Rhymes. This dude has always been an absolute lyrical monster, getting his start as a standout member in Leaders of the New School, and really making his mark on the Scenario remix by A Tribe Called Quest. And while he leaned into that instantly recognizable lightning-fast flow a bit later on in his career, he was already a menace on the mic back in 1997, which he shows pretty much constantly across When Disaster Strikes. I've also heard people take certain themes that show up on this album, like weed or sex, and question how it would relate to the concept of disaster kind of destroying the world. But personally, I always thought of it more as, oh, the world is going to end, so let's get the good times in while we can kind of thing. But I will admit that might kind of be a reach. The intro on here is pretty long with 3 different instrumentals, but one of those beats ends up returning for the outro track, and it's a shame nobody ended up actually rapping over it because it's this sinister and grimy yet pretty addicting loop. And like many great hip-hop albums of the 90s with long-ass intros, this thing really picks up with the second track, The Whole World Looking at Me, which may have a somewhat mellow beat compared to other cuts on this LP, but it sets the tone perfectly for Busta to deliver one of my favorite verses on the entire project. This being when he says, "My interruption caused a major concussion. Dome piece swollen. Son, you need a cup of bufferin'. Pete my post-reduction. Follow my instruction. Bounce back my repercussion. Cause mass destruction. Fuck around, strain ya till ya plan malfunction. Sit ya ass down, bouncing out to flushin'. Check extra P by the boom weed from a Russian. I remember when I used to rhyme for extra nothing. I got so much to offer every time I tell you something. I'm about to drop it. You could never stop it. Let me quickly chop it. Still, a lot of rappers analyze before profits. The rhyme at new gossip. Hold your head and shoulders, yo, I roll with evil holders. Dealing with the facts, I hold the silence in the folders. Did you know how to knock it from concussion into comas? Test shit, I pull your valve from out your breast, kid. Mess with shit like this after God blessed it. But even if Busta isn't necessarily painting some insanely vivid and conceptual picture on every track, it really doesn't matter because he has such an it factor that's kind of reminiscent of Old Dirty Bastard from Wu-Tang Clan. who he worked with on multiple occasions, and actually they have a freestyle battle on YouTube that you should definitely check out if you haven't seen it. But both of these guys have such unique, animated, and instantly recognizable flows and styles that their voices command your attention regardless of what they're saying. Make no mistake though, that isn't to say Busta Rhymes isn't saying anything when he raps on here, and that goes the same for his group of featured artists, many of which are Flipmode squad members including Rampage, Sirius, Spliffstar, Raw Digga, Baby Sham, and Lord Have Mercy, who absolutely massacres every appearance he has on this thing. And I think it's definitely a shame that we never really got his solo album, but that's neither here nor there. The other non-Flipmode guest appearances include Jamal, Anthony Hamilton, The Chosen Generation, Sean Combs, Erykah Badu, and Mace. The killer production on When Disaster Strikes was handled by 8 Off, Buddha, Clarence Dorsey, DJ Scratch, Easy Mo B, Epitome, Latif, Omar Glover, Rashad Smith, Rockwilder, Puffy, Shamello, Spliffstar, The Uma, and Busta Rhymes himself. For my top 3 favorite tracks overall on this piece of hip-hop history, I think I would have to go with So Hardcore, We Could Take It Outside, and Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Could See. Then for my honorable mentions, I whittled it down to The Whole World Looking at Me, There's Not a Problem My Squad Can't Fix, 1, Body Rock, When Disaster Strikes, Things We Be Doing for Money Part 1 and 2, Get Off My Block, Turn It Up, and Survival Hungry. Thank you for watching my 228th video. Next up, we have a veteran who hasn't been on the page for a long time now, so check in for that one. And if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite moments off this staple of 90s hip-hop are. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.
Look, the key to my soul is locked in the cage it opens. The framework was made from my own rib cue. What came first, the crack or the crack light, or whichever one the first fiend used to bring back